Eddie Rickenbacker's Adventures in the Chateau-Thierry Salient, Chapter 19 of Fighting the Flying Circus. World War I marked a pivotal moment in the history of aerial combat. Amidst the clouds, brave aviators engaged in dogfights that would define the future of warfare. Today, we delve into Chapter 19 of Fighting the Flying Circus, the memoir of Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, America's ace of aces. Join us as we explore his experiences in the Chateau-Thierry salient during the critical summer of 1918. In late June 1918, the 94th Aero Squadron, alongside the 27th, 95th, and 147th Squadrons, received orders to relocate from Toul to the Chateau-Thierry sector. This region, approximately 75 kilometers northeast of Paris, was a focal point of the German Spring Offensive. The Allied High Command recognized the necessity of reinforcing this front to counter the German advance towards the Marne River. Major Harold E. Hartney commanded the 27th Squadron, while Major William Thaw led the 95th. The move signified a strategic shift, positioning American air power in one of the war's most contested arenas. Toul, with its population of 20,000 and proximity to the larger city of Nancy, had provided a degree of comfort and familiarity. Its medieval architecture and bustling streets offered respite from the war's hardships. The transition to the Chateau-Thierry front marked not only a geographical change, but also an escalation in operational intensity. The squadrons established their base at the Tuken aerodrome, a mere 40 kilometers south of the front lines. Unlike Toul, Tuken was a modest village with limited infrastructure. The aerodrome featured standard French Bessonneau hangars, steel-framed structures covered with canvas and expertly camouflaged. Despite the aerodrome's adequate facilities for aircraft, provisions for pilots and officers were lacking. There were no designated quarters, mess halls, or recreational areas. The men were compelled to adapt swiftly, arranging makeshift accommodations and confronting the stark realities of frontline deployment. The contrast with their previous base underscored the exigencies of war and the need for resilience. The relocation presented significant logistical challenges, particularly concerning navigation. Experienced pilots from the 94th and 95th Squadrons were assigned to lead the newer aviators of the 27th and 147th Squadrons. Captain Rickenbacker piloted Major Atkinson's Newport 28, tasked with overseeing the formation and assisting any pilots who encountered difficulties. Lieutenant Buford of the 95th Squadron, known for his unconventional approach to navigation, eschewing maps in favor of intuition, volunteered to lead the 27th Squadron's flight. Departing Toul, Buford confidently headed south, inadvertently guiding the formation away from their intended destination. After depleting their fuel reserves, they landed at an aerodrome near Lyon, over 300 kilometers off course. This misadventure highlighted the complexities of aerial navigation in an era before advanced avionics. Factors such as limited instrumentation, the absence of radio communication, and the reliance on visual landmarks contributed to navigational errors. The incident emphasized the critical importance of proper preparation and adherence to established protocols, especially during wartime operations. Lieutenant Tippmann, a recently assigned pilot to the 94th Squadron, embarked on his inaugural combat patrol under the guidance of Captain Rickenbacker and Lieutenant Reed Chambers. The mission involved reconnaissance over Pont-à-Mousson, a strategically significant area along the Moselle River. Rickenbacker and Chambers, seasoned aviators with multiple victories, instructed Tippmann to maintain formation and refrain from engaging the enemy. During the patrol, they encountered a German Albatros DV, a formidable adversary renowned for its performance at altitudes up to 5,000 meters and speeds approaching 186 kilometers per hour. Engaging the enemy, Rickenbacker and Chambers were hindered by recurrent gun jams, a persistent issue with the Vickers machine guns due to synchronization gear malfunctions and ammunition inconsistencies. Amidst the skirmish, Tippmann lost sight of his leaders. Attempting to navigate back to base, he misjudged his bearings, a miscalculation exacerbated by the sun's position and the lack of reliable compass readings. He flew eastward, deep into enemy territory. As his fuel dwindled, he executed a forced landing in a forested area near the Swiss border, narrowly avoiding internment under the Treaty of London, which stipulated the internment of belligerent military personnel entering neutral Switzerland. Tippmann's ordeal underscored the imperative of navigational proficiency and situational awareness. Disorientation could result not only in capture, but also in unintended violations of neutrality, with significant diplomatic repercussions. Amid the challenges, the officers of the 94th Squadron discovered an unexpected sanctuary, the Château de la Belle Idée. This grand estate, abandoned since the German advance of 1914, offered opulent accommodations. The chateau featured lavish furnishings, expansive gardens, and a serene environment that starkly contrasted with the front lines. However, Captain Rickenbacker's health deteriorated upon arrival, exhibiting symptoms consistent with influenza, a significant concern given the pandemic that would later be known as the Spanish flu. He was confined to a field hospital. During his convalescence, medical staff monitored his condition closely, aware of the high mortality rates associated with respiratory illnesses in the trenches. Rickenbacker's isolation provided an opportunity for introspection and strategic reassessment. Confined to his hospital bed, Rickenbacker engaged in critical self-evaluation. Despite his status as an emerging ace, with several confirmed victories, he grappled with the psychological demands of aerial combat. The relentless stress, coupled with witnessing the losses of comrades, prompted him to question his long-term efficacy and survivability. Analyzing his encounters, he identified mechanical failures, particularly the jamming of his Vickers machine guns, as recurrent impediments. Research indicated that the synchronization mechanisms were prone to malfunction due to vibrations and temperature fluctuations at high altitudes. Additionally, the Nieuport 28's structural vulnerabilities, specifically the tendency of the lower wing to detach during high-speed dives due to inadequate attachment points and aerodynamic stress, imposed tactical limitations. Determined to enhance his combat readiness, Rickenbacker resolved to implement rigorous pre-flight inspections, focusing on armament reliability and airframe integrity. He advocated for the adoption of modified ammunition belts and coordinated with ground crews to ensure optimal performance. Recognizing that technological advantages could be decisive, he contemplated the broader implications of equipment in achieving air superiority. The limitations of the Nieuport 28 became increasingly untenable against the evolving capabilities of German aircraft, such as the Fokker D-7, which featured a BMW 3A engine capable of 185 horsepower and superior high-altitude performance. Rickenbacker and his peers advocated for the transition to the SPAD-30, a fighter that boasted a Hispano-Suiza 8B V8 engine, delivering 220 horsepower. The SPAD-13's robust construction, with reinforced wing structures and a top speed of approximately 218 kilometers per hour, offered a significant tactical advantage. Its dual synchronized Vickers machine guns provided increased firepower, and its operational ceiling exceeded 6,500 meters, enabling pilots to engage high-altitude reconnaissance planes like the Rumpler CV-7. On July 4, 1918, while American forces celebrated Independence Day in Paris, Rickenbacker seized the moment to influence the war effort directly. Venturing to the Orly aerodrome, he engaged with Major Townsend Dodd, responsible for aircraft procurement and distribution. Upon discovering that SPAD-30s designated for the 94th Squadron were present but pending bureaucratic processing, Rickenbacker made a decisive move. Recognizing the immediacy of frontline needs, he prepared SPAD-13 serial number S45223 for departure. Ensuring that the aircraft had undergone the requisite testing and was fully operational, he took off without formal authorization, a calculated risk reflecting his commitment to mission success. The flight to Tuken allowed Rickenbacker to acclimate to the SPAD's handling characteristics. Notably, he observed the aircraft's improved stability, climb rate of 5.5 meters per second, and responsive controls. These enhancements would prove critical in subsequent engagements. Rickenbacker's arrival at Tuken caused a stir among his comrades. The introduction of the SPAD-13 was a tangible manifestation of progress and a morale booster for the squadron. Anticipating potential disciplinary action for circumventing protocols, Rickenbacker was instead commended for his initiative. Major John Huffer, commanding officer of the 94th Squadron, recognized the imperative of equipping pilots with superior aircraft. Efforts to outfit the SPAD with necessary combat equipment commenced immediately. Armament specialists calibrated the synchronized Vickers machine guns, ensuring alignment with the propeller's rotation to prevent misfires, a critical task requiring precision engineering. During Rickenbacker's brief absence, the squadron experienced the vicissitudes of aerial warfare. Lieutenant Henry B. Taliaferro and Lieutenant Edward Buford were among those lost in action, their sacrifices a stark reminder of the conflict's toll. Conversely, pilots like Lieutenant Douglas Campbell and Lieutenant Kenneth Marr achieved confirmed victories, contributing to the Allies' air superiority efforts. With the SPAD-13 at his disposal, Rickenbacker was poised to re-engage with renewed vigor. His approach emphasized meticulous preparation, strategic thinking, and leveraging the technological advantages of his aircraft. The integration of the SPAD-13 into squadron operations marked a turning point, aligning their capabilities with those of their adversaries. July 1918 witnessed significant developments on the Western Front. The German offensive faltered, and the Allies initiated counteroffensives exploiting the enemy's overextended supply lines. The Second Battle of the Marne, commencing on July 15th, marked a critical juncture. To maintain aerial support for ground operations, the 94th Squadron relocated to the Saints aerodrome, strategically situated closer to the shifting front. This move facilitated more effective patrols, reconnaissance missions, and engagement opportunities. However, the proximity to enemy lines increased vulnerability to attacks. German reconnaissance aircraft, such as the Rumpler C-7, capable of reaching altitudes of 7,000 meters, conducted persistent overflights. Their activities underscored the necessity of intercepting high-altitude threats to protect Allied positions and gather intelligence. Subsequent events revealed the extent of German intelligence capabilities. Allied pilots who were captured and later repatriated recounted interrogations wherein German officers displayed detailed knowledge of American squadron compositions, personnel, and even individual pilots' tactics. One such instance involved a German intelligence officer discussing Captain Rickenbacker's previous balloon attack plans, an operation that had not been widely publicized. This suggested that the enemy had access to sensitive information, potentially through reconnaissance, signals interception, or espionage. The implications were profound. Operational security became paramount, necessitating stricter communication protocols and counterintelligence measures. The realization that the adversary was well-informed forced Allied forces to adapt, emphasizing deception tactics and the safeguarding of strategic plans. Chapter 19 of Fighting the Flying Circus encapsulates a period of transformation for Captain Eddie Rickenbacker. Confronted with personal challenges and evolving battlefield dynamics, he exemplified the qualities of leadership, innovation, and tenacity. His proactive acquisition of the SPAD-13 not only enhanced his effectiveness, but also catalyzed improvements within the squadron. The integration of advanced aircraft, combined with refined tactics, positioned the 94th Squadron to significantly impact the air war over the Western Front. Rickenbacker's experiences serve as a testament to the critical interplay between technology, strategy, and human determination in warfare. His legacy continues to inspire, illustrating the profound impact one individual can have on the course of history.